has gotten in so far. We don't know, but nobody's gotten in to meddle with the actual count. But they are in the place where they could mess up the voter rolls and they could have a bunch of registered people be unregistered. Maybe that's the space that they're in, and that's a dangerous enough space. And even if they don't do it, Heather, even if they can't pull that off, if they are able, if these foreign entities are able to decrease further American confidence in the sanctity and good conduct of our elections, they may have done something just as damaging as actually affecting the outcomes themselves.
Well, this certainly plays right into what Donald Trump has been saying. You know, this is a rigged election, and one of those states that may have been targeted, as Catherine just mentioned, is Arizona, where he will be giving a speech on immigration on Wednesday.
And, we have a long history of losing candidates or candidates who are behind complaining about the electoral process. We remember that when the Democrats lost in 2000, certainly Democrats have made a lot about what they say is voter suppression through voter identification laws that have been passed in various states, saying it's a deliberate attempt by Republicans to suppress turnout. So we have long-standing history in America of the sour grape side of the aisle saying, well, this was rigged. But now, if we have foreign powers working, not necessarily not in concert, but playing on those fears, playing on those anxieties, as Mr. Trump is out talking about those things, you could really have a crisis of confidence in an election system that, gosh darn it, works really well.
Yeah, it affects us in quite a few ways. Gosh darn it, remember what actually may have sort of worked well? Remember those old hanging chads back from the good old days?
Yeah.
Yay, we hardly knew ye. Those seem like such a brilliant idea by comparison. When you start to talk about Russians potentially hacking our election system and our voter rolls there. Gosh, remember that? The hanging chad?
Well, one thing,
the 2000
I bet paper ballots are coming back into vogue. I bet paper ballots will come back into vogue over time. I bet that's what happens.
In the meantime, Chris, our interns are like, a what? A hanging who? A hanging what? What did Chad do? What's he hanging from? All right. Chris, while I have you here, I want to ask you about this because Donald Trump is now spending $10 million in 9 battleground states. Those ads are targeting voters in Ohio, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Florida, and that's where the campaign has already been on the air, along with first-time ad buys in New Hampshire, Virginia, Iowa, Colorado, and Nevada. But by comparison, Clinton is spending $68.2 million. So look at this. He's spending 4.3. She's spending 68.2. He just announces the $10 million. She's spending a lot more than he does.
Yes, the technical term for that is more. That is more. I think that's right. But look, Trump is playing catch up here, but he's playing now, right? The money's coming out. The ad is quite good. It's a very traditional kind of contrast ad. The economy, by the way, continues to be one of his stronger issues when we look at how voters perceive the two candidates. So he's coming out and saying, she's bad at the economy. Your taxes are going to go up. The economy's going to get worse. I'm good at the economy. I'm going to make America rich. And that's a good message for him.
It's still the top issue for voters, but this is a week where he's supposed to be talking about immigration, giving that big speech on Wednesday. Usually campaigns like to have a consistent theme. This one seems a little less sure-footed. Why not consolidate the message and just have one this week?
Well, the immigration is he's got to offload this inventory. This is something that he can't wait much longer to do. To do this turnabout on immigration, and it sounds like he's setting himself up based on what we heard from his campaign advisors. It sounds like he's setting himself up for something of an about face on what critics would call amnesty, or some means by which people who have entered the United States illegally can stay or return home and then come back and stay. He's got to offload that inventory before it gets much later in the election. So it's he's got to get it done now, regardless of what his ad campaign is.
He talked about a softening of his position on immigration. Then he talked about a hardening, and then over the weekend there was different talk about it. So how is that overall confusion? I think it's fair to call it that. How is that playing with voters right now?
Well, we don't know yet, and he's got a minute to try to sort this out. I think where you have to end up if you're Donald Trump is he's got to build the wall, or say he's going to build the wall. He's got to say he's going to do the whole thing. It's going to be 40 feet tall. It's going to have tunnel technology. It's going to be all this stuff. And he's got to emphasize border security so that as he pushes hard on that, he can then turn and say, but we are going to do this a little different internally so that we're not going to have a mass deportation force taking people out of the country. We have new Pew numbers out this week that basically say while Americans are concerned about criminal activity from illegal immigrants, they don't agree with Trump on the internal policies. So he's got to find a way to, as we would say in Washington, true that up.
True that up. Chris Stirewalt, thank you so much from Washington today. We'll see you again. Well, Hillary Clinton's top aide, Huma Abedin, announcing today